unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth. I've been thinking about how for the last year and 3 months I sit here and I talk about Buddhism. Sometimes in a traditional way, sometimes from my own experience. But I think that's a little bit misleading, or at least I could be sending the wrong message. Because this particular tradition is the show, don't tell tradition of Buddhism. It's really not about jabbering all the time. It's about something else. The practice itself is something else. So if I talk too much, or if we get into a mode of thinking that that's at the heart of what we're doing, then the next natural progression, I suppose, is that we all sit in a circle and talk more, that that's somehow where we're headed. But it isn't. So I want to pause tonight and talk a little bit about what it means to practice with the body, what it means to be doing just one thing, and what it means to commit. I was singing the other day with my daughter, and her favorite song is Let It Go. Like everyone, like all 3-year-olds in North America and probably the entire world, this is the song that's on repeat. And you would think that after having heard it 600 times that I would know all the lyrics, but I don't, because I just haven't bothered. But we were enjoying it, and she was singing and I was singing, and I was really aware and kind of laughing at myself at how when I know the lyrics, I can really belt, right? So when we get "Let It Go," you know, I can go there. But then, let it go, right? And I'll jump back in. That I can commit fully when I know my lines. When I know the lyrics, I'm there. And when I don't, I pull back. And everything goes a little bit soft. Everything gets a little bit mushy. And I'm kind of filling time, right? I'm just barely keeping this thread until I know my spot again. And I think that one of the ways that we can understand a lot of Buddhist traditions, not just Zen, is that Buddhism gives you a set of lyrics that stretches throughout the entire day. But in many traditions, that set of lyrics is something that you're kind of doing inside your head. Right? You're being given little exercises, little lenses through which to view the world. You're giving yourselves encouragements, little admonitions, little reminders that when you meet an encounter, you should bring this heart to it, or this mind to it. Or you remind yourself, for example, that everything is an illusion. And so you're carrying that question all the time. You see something, and your lyrics are, this too is an illusion. Right? So you always have that. You're always carrying that. You always know your line. That's a very powerful thing to do. It's a very powerful thing to hold, because when you know your line, as I'm saying, you're able to commit. It gives you a way of throwing yourself into whatever it is that you're doing. But in this particular tradition, within Zen, and then specifically within Soto Zen, we don't give you that mental script. That's not there. So your lines are not so much words as they are actions. It's more like there's a dance that you're doing all the time. And that can be very liberating, but along the way it can also be very frustrating, because along the way you can often feel that you don't know what the next move is, and that leaves you kind of hanging in space. Right? It's watching someone dance who only learned the first part and maybe the fifth part is kind of hanging out in between. Whether that script is internal or external, you always have the option to give everything to it, or to do it kind of halfway. Right? It's like wiping the table after dinner. You can do it really quickly. Right? It doesn't make you a bad person. None of this is a moral question. Right? It's not about doing it right exactly. It's that maybe you're busy, and so you say, yeah, I'll wipe down the table, and you're done. Or maybe you're lazy, or maybe you don't care. In each one of those cases, though, you know what a clean table is, right? You know that, and you know that you're not really in sync with that. In the same way, when we stand, when we walk, when we speak, when we bow, we know what it is to commit. And so when we're not committing, we feel this gap. If we feel that gap often enough, we can decide that that's our normal, and we can kind of blow it off. But we still know it's there. And hopefully what part of this practice is doing is it's offering a new normal. There are little reminders to commit, and then you remember what it feels like to see the table be really clean. And the next time you go back to it, you think, that was pretty nice. I might do that again. So tonight, what I'd like to talk about is just the single, simple action of bowing. And as I've been thinking about this today, I've been thinking, what can I say about bowing? What can I say about bowing? And the more I think about it, the more I realize we could do this for days. There's so much in this one action. But we'll keep it simple. So what I'd like you all to do is stand up. And you're just going to go through this step by step. The first part of bowing is standing. So when you stand, your feet, the heels are about 2 fists apart, or maybe not quite. Say 1.5. And your toes go just a little bit out. My teachers always told me that your big toes are in line with your nipples. I heard that over and over again. And it made me very self-conscious about both my toes and my nipples. So you're standing. And as we're doing this, I want to emphasize, I'm not teaching you the right way to bow, because there is no right way to bow. Because again, there is no moral aspect to this. There is no lightning bolt that will come and get you if you do it wrong. And in fact, if you go to another group down the street or in the next town, they'll do it a little bit differently. And you should do it that way. But what we do in this practice is we adopt a palette of forms that are not our own. Because committing to something that is offered to you is a much fuller experience than committing to self-expression. Don't worry about self-expression. Self-expression is the most inevitable thing in your life. So we're standing. Okay. Bend your knees just a little bit. So it's like if you've ever been in a choir and you've passed out because your knees were locked. Just a little bit of bounce. Shoulders are down. Okay. Take a breath. Let your head pull toward the ceiling just the way it does in Zazen. It's very straight. If you're not expending energy just standing here, find a way to do so. Now, hands out. Make them really flat. Really flat. It's not this. It's this. Notice your thumbs. I have a tendency to do this, to bend my thumbs. Put them flat against your index finger. Now put your hands together. Your palms are pressing together. The tip of your middle finger is in line with the bottom of your nose. Your shoulders are back. So I want you to press your shoulder blades together. Think about that. Open your chest. This is when I don't do it. This is when I do it. And then push. Not hard. Not so that you're straining, but that so that your body has taken on a kind of architectural integrity. Right? So that a monkey could come and swing on your arm. You'd be fine. In a storm, all you do is bend your knees a little more. You'd stay right where you are. Your elbows are out. Not higher than your wrists, but also not like this. If you bow like this when you're 40 years old, then when you're 85 years old, you'll probably bow like this. And that's okay. But if you bow like this when you're 40 years old, when you're 85 years old, you won't bow. Because long ago you will have lost the spirit of bowing altogether. There will be nothing left for you. So we start here. Again, your shoulder blades are trying to touch. And your elbows are out. And your palms are together. And now, I want you to think about your abdomen. I want you to do a little crunch. Because you're going to bend at the waist. You're not going to bend with the middle of your back. You're not going to bend with your shoulders. You're going to bend right at your hips, like this, for about 45 degrees, and back. Now, I know that everyone is watching me, but when you do this, you don't need to, I think we have this idea from martial arts movies or something, that when we bow, we keep an eye on the other person. Right? This is an action of trust. So, when you follow, your whole body follows the directions of your arms. We also have a tendency sometimes to do this. Right? This is one unit. It's one architectural unit. And when you bend, everything goes together and everything comes back. Down. And back. Now, in addition to that little crunch, if you are someone who struggles with their lower back, if you sometimes have back spasms or if your lower back feels weak, then as you do this, bend your knees just a little bit. And that will take that pressure off.